Should you point your toes up or down or somewhere in between on a leg extension? I'm going to give you two simple answers to this question. The first is the short version. The second is the longer version. So the short version is it probably doesn't matter that much. Do what's comfortable. Now, if that's sufficient to you, move on with your day. If you want some explanation here and some nuance, keep listening. So what do we have to consider with a leg extension and specifically this toe thing? Well, when we say toes up, toes down, that's not really what we mean, right? Because the toes can extend and sort of bend this way and they can also curl that way. What we're really talking about is ankle motion, right? So this looks like my toes are moving and the toes are moving through space, but the joint that is controlling this motion is the ankle, okay? So the question now becomes, what happens when our toes go this way and our ankles go this way versus this way? Well, the only thing that really changes during the context of a leg extension is the length of this muscle. For those of you who don't know, this pink band is supposed to represent the outer calf, also known as the gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius has two functions. Number one, it can plantar flex, i.e. do this motion like you are going upward in a calf raise, or downward, depending on how you think about it, right? You're pushing your ankle that way. That's function number one. Function number two of the gastrocnemius, because it crosses the backside of the knee here, is it actually bends the knee, okay? So gastrocnemius, plantar flexes, pushes the ankle this way, and also bends the knee. Okay, so back to a leg extension. Well, what happens when we are moving through a leg extension from the perspective of the knee? Well, obviously our quads contract, they pull on this bone called the patella, and the tibia and the fibula and the foot get pulled upward. But what is really happening to the calf, the outer calf, the gastroc, as that's happening? Well, because the calf, the outer calf, is a knee bender, it's actually lengthening when we kick this way. So I want you all to do this right now. If you're sitting down, then cool. If you're not, then go to a seated position and basically just straighten your knee like this, okay? And then what I want you to do from here is I want you to pull your toes upward, and then I want you to push your toes downward. What you will feel is an increase in stretch when you do this and a decrease in stretch when you do this, okay? And essentially what that means and why that's relevant is when you get to the top of a leg extension and you're fully stretching the outer calf from the perspective of the knee at the top, if you are consciously tugging your foot upward this way, you are also going to stretch it out from this end of the muscle. Okay, and if you consciously push your toes down, you are going to shorten it from this end of the muscle. So the question is, well, which one of those things is more ideal? I can think of arguments for either side of this debate. I can think of an argument for this, and I can think of an argument for this. So let's go over in what instances those arguments would be valid. Let's imagine that someone is doing their leg extensions, and for whatever reason, they get pain. Right? It's just like, my knee is uncomfortable. Maybe the back of the knee is uncomfortable. Maybe it's the side. If someone slightly pulls their toes up and they hold them there, i.e. creating more length and more tension in this side of the joint via the outer calf, that may help their pain for whatever combination of reasons. For the same reason, let's say if you're doing a dumbbell curl, maybe squeezing your forearms or just increasing the muscular contribution of surrounding and supporting muscles, that may help the discomfort, okay? So that's an argument in favor of pulling the toes up, lengthening this muscle. What about pushing the toes down? What's an argument in favor of that? Well, some people find, as you hopefully just demonstrated as I walked you through it, when they straighten the knee like this and they pull the toes up, it is actually so tense in their calf, like you pull your ankle up this way and your calf gets so tight that you actually can't get to the top of the motion. Like your range of motion up into the top might actually become limited if you pull your foot up or you pull your ankle up specifically this way. Why? Again, because what you're doing is you're lengthening the outer calf from the perspective of the knee by straightening the knee. And then again, at the foot, you're lengthening that outer calf just by basically pulling your foot in this direction. So in that instance, where let's imagine you're someone who doesn't have pain, doesn't have discomfort, imagine you get to the top of this motion and you start pulling this way. If that actually makes it difficult for your quads to contribute to the exercise, which it very well may, then you're going to want to just chill the hell out and relax and let your foot basically go wherever it wants to go. Because ultimately, if you're not experiencing pain and you're also not experiencing any of that sort of tension toward the top, I really don't think it's that necessary to think about what your foot is doing and why, just given the fact that the pad of a leg extension is really just impacting this knee joint, okay? So overall, the story is this. Whether you're doing this, toes up or toes down, depends on the context of you. Do you have that sort of weird stretchy feeling when you get to the top on the backside of your knee and the backside of your calf? And are you in a situation where your range of motion is being limited in the top? Okay, relax your foot and maybe even point it slightly down if you're someone who's used to cranking this thing up all the time. Oh, are you someone who maybe doesn't feel that stretch, but maybe you do have pain in different positions? Simply altering the length of this by stretching it out a little bit more may give the joint some additional support that can actually make the leg extension feel better. Both are valid, and I can imagine that there are a number of different things in between are also valid, but the larger conversation here is basically that these kinds of minor technique changes are and should be individual to you. So while we can make objective claims, scientific claims about what is going on in either one of these scenarios, I can't begin to tell you what might be best for you unless you actually try and experiment. So overall, I hope this was helpful and informative, and I hope you learned something about the calves and the leg extension and all that sort of thing. If you like this video, where I give a sort of short version, longer version, with simple, straightforward questions, please let me know below, and I'll see you all in the next video.